3 has that quality. It isn't simply the number after 2. It's the moment when attention between two elements stops being still and produces something new. A third possibility that didn't exist before. And that possibility, in the symbolic reading of numbers, has a name: expression. To really understand this, it helps to take a step back. If 1 is the starting point, the unit that asserts its own existence, and 2 is the encounter between two forces, the relationship, the mirror, the tension between opposites, then 3 is what happens when that relationship generates something beyond itself. It's neither one nor the other. It's what emerges between the two, the synthesis that appears when polarity finds a way out. This idea isn't unique to numerology. It shows up in very different ways of thinking. In narrative logic, for example, there's the basic structure of setup, conflict, and resolution. 3 moments that aren't interchangeable. Without the first, there's no context. Without the second, there's no tension. Without the third, there's no resolution. A story can't exist with fewer than those 3 parts. 3 isn't an aesthetic choice here. It's the minimum structure that allows something to be told. The same thing happens in geometry. 2 points define a line, but a line alone doesn't close anything. You need a third point to form a shape. The triangle is the simplest figure that can close itself in space. 3 vertices, 3 sides, 1 surface. Something that was open and linear becomes contained, defined, present. 3 is the smallest number of elements needed for there to be form. That might seem like a trivial observation, but when you sit with it, it turns out to be meaningful. The difference between 2 elements and 3 isn't just arithmetic. It's qualitative. 2 elements can relate to each other, clash, balance, but 3 opens a different dimension. It introduces direction, sequence, the possibility of movement. It's no longer just A and B facing each other. It's A, B, and C, which can be the consequence, the combination, the result, the path that emerges. In symbolic terms, 3 is often associated with creativity and expression for exactly this reason. Not because creative people are special, or because 3 is an artistic number in some magical sense, but because creativity, in its most basic form, is the ability to take 2 elements and generate something new from them. An idea and a material, an intention and a form, a question and an unexpected answer. 3 is the moment when that happens. The moment when something moves outward, takes shape, and can be shared. Expression is, in fact, one of the words most closely linked to 3 across different traditions of symbolic thought. The word itself comes from a Latin root meaning to push outward. And that's exactly what 3 seems to do. Push something that was contained, latent, still potential, into a visible space. A sentence that finds its form. A project that stops being an intention and starts becoming real. A conversation where a third idea appears that neither person had thought of before they started talking. This expansive quality of 3 can be traced through many cultural uses. 3 shows up in narrative structures across very different cultures. In traditional stories from around the world, characters often get 3 attempts, 3 trials, 3 children, 3 doors. It isn't arbitrary. The first attempt establishes the pattern, the second develops or complicates it, the third resolves it or breaks it open. Repetition with variation is the rhythm, and rhythm, too, is one of the territories of 3. In music, triple meter has a particular feeling. 1 strong beat followed by 2 weaker ones. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That cycle creates movement, momentum, a sense of circulation that duple meter doesn't produce in the same way. 3 doesn't move in a straight line. It turns, returns, continues. There's something in that pattern that feels alive, dynamic, in process. Communication is another dimension often associated with 3. Not just artistic or creative expression, but communication in the broadest sense. The ability to articulate ideas, put them into circulation, make them understandable to others. When someone learns to explain something well, what they usually do is find a structure of 3: context, argument, and example, or central idea, development, and conclusion. 3 organizes thought in a way that makes it easier to receive. There's something interesting here when you think about how attention works. 2 elements can create contrast, but they don't always let thinking move forward. 4 elements can be too many to hold at once. 3 seems to be the number where the mind can follow a thread without losing it. It's no coincidence that the best arguments, the best speeches, the best presentations tend to be organized around 3 points. 3 is cognitively friendly. But 3 also has its own tension, and it would be incomplete to ignore it. Everything that makes 3 a symbol of expression and movement can, in a different context, become dispersion and superficiality. The same energy that drives the generation of ideas, the urge to communicate, to expand, can result in too many directions open at the same time. 3 without focus can produce enthusiasm without depth, variety without substance, many beginnings and few sustained developments. That tension doesn't make 3 something negative. It makes it an energy that requires attention. Expression without structure can become noise. Creativity without direction can become anxiety. 3 opens possibilities, and that's valuable. But every opening also implies the question of where to. The dynamic of 3 doesn't end with moving outward. It also includes finding a form that can hold what gets expressed. There's an image that captures this duality fairly well. Think of a seed germinating. The process of germination is, in a sense, an act of 3. The seed in the soil, the water, and the life force that brings them together and produces the sprout. Something that was closed, concentrated, opens, and begins to grow. That outward movement is inevitable. It's the nature of the seed. But if it doesn't find the right conditions, if it grows without something to support it, it can exhaust itself before it ever flowers. 3 doesn't guarantee anything. It simply marks the moment when growth begins. That may be the most useful thing this number can offer as a thinking tool. Not a message about who you are or a promise about what you can achieve, but a way of naming the moment when something stops being only possibility and begins to exist in the world. The moment when an idea finds words, when a relationship generates something that neither of its 2 parts could have created alone, when a direction emerges from a tension that seemed like it would never move. 3 is the number that sets things in motion, the minimum structure that closes a shape, the moment when what was inside finds a form to move outward. It isn't a magic number or a guarantee. It's a way of recognizing that movement has a geometry, that expression has a structure, and that between the stillness of 1 and the tension of 2, there is this third space, the place where things begin to take form and enter the world.